welcome to the Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy, the free podcast for motivated teachers and school leaders who want to inspire their students and school community in literacy learning. Make sure you subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast player, and for more amazing literacy resources, check out the show notes provided with every episode.
Hi, I'm Sharon and I'm the host of A Teacher's Toolkit for Literacy. In every Toolkit episode, we bring you specific resources, tools, strategies, tips, techniques to help you in your job as a teacher of literacy. Firstly, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present and ongoing connection to the land and cultural beliefs. And welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Sharon, and welcome back to part 3 of our podcast, Enjoy. And I guess a baseline for all this, Sharon, is that there is a lot of reading and writing going on in the classroom for the child's own purposes.
Well, purpose and audience right here is, once again, it's part of this protocol.
Yeah.
So why are you writing this text? Who are you writing this text for? How are you making this text informative, persuasive, entertaining for your audience? Why are you reading this book? What is it about this? These are the questions. We want students having agency in that reading and writing.
Just a question, Sharon. All age groups?
Oh, good question. Yes, primary, all age groups. And I did want to say, but link it to what you know are the expectations of the curriculum. Wherever you are, if I'm in Australia, I'm looking and I've got year 3s in front of me and I'm using the protocol with year 3s. I'm using this. And I'm also highly cognizant of what are the achievement expectations, the achievement standards and the descriptors for the year level of what should be being achieved. I'm going to give a very practical example of this actually. On that decoding part, looking at what, when teachers say, as you model, I want to look at, I've got a child here who, is having some difficulties with decoding and I want to see what I can be doing to take them further. What we often find is that when children are having difficulties with decoding words, and I'm going to take a year 3 child as an example, because what is it that a year 3 child needs to be able to do as a decoder? When we look on the curriculum, it isn't to only use to decode by using a letter sound, so using a phonic approach only. Our year 3s need to have that as a strategy, but they also need to be able to know that there are lots of letter combinations, letter patterns, and lots of sounds that individual letters and letter patterns can make. We also need to know that there are some reliable rhymes that are used for many words, and then there are some less reliable rhymes, and what are those patterns? And then they need to know that there are bases that have prefixes and suffixes added to them. So there are chunks within words, and that those chunks of prefix, suffix, base all on their own have meaning. So a prefix has a meaning and a base has meaning and a suffix has meaning, and collectively. So when we say a child is having difficulty with decoding, 9 times out of 10 I'm finding they are only using the baseline strategy only. and that by year 3 they haven't been introduced to, they haven't been given the other strategies with which they need to work.
And these are all on that protocol?
These are all on that protocol, and in Australia, all on the curriculum that our students need to have an ever-increasing strategy complexity to be able to work with words. So in our language strand, what is it about words that students need to be able to work with? They need to be able to work with words at increasingly complex levels, because that is what increasingly complex text demands of them. And so they have the right to get all of those strategies to help them engage with more and more complex text. And that's how the curriculum describes it. We begin with simple text, but then we move into moderately complex text. And moderately complex text means we have many more strategies for decoding, for word identification. So we really need...
So learning to read goes from very early year levels and it keeps going up.
It keeps getting... But we don't stay with one strategy only at a year level, very early. So our foundation students aren't isolated to just a letter sound matching strategy, but should also know that there are letter sound relationships that are in words that we see a lot in our reading that aren't just based on that phonics strategy. Well, they all have a phonics strategy, but the letter A in the word was makes an O sound, as it does in lots of words. And so we need to allow our students to know that letters don't just make one sound. They make a variety of sounds based on the words that they're in.
All right, so we've had some good successes with the protocol, using it in schools in various ways, in different schools.
Yeah.
And we've covered a range of those. And I think probably that's a really good place to finish up now. To say, here is the protocol. You have used it in different ways with different teachers. Great successes, but you're still in the stage of there's going to be more you're going to discover.
We are very much in a trial and exploration stage for us as teachers, as well as for our students. I think that this as a tool, I think it is a significant tool that has been brought to us. Duke and Ward and Klingelhofer, their work, I think, is a significant contribution to providing us with a tool that can help us with prompting, coaching, and having clarity around what are the things that are significant when it comes to looking at students as they're reading and as they're writing, so that we're not feeling like, there are like how many... Here's what I want to say. I think it distills things in a significant way. It isn't so reduced that it doesn't cover what's needed, and it isn't so expansive that it's overwhelming. I think it's tight, it's intentional,
it's clever.
It's clever, and its cleverness is in how teachers use it with children, on the spot, as they're engaging with teachers.
And because it's connected to the curriculum, it's connecting to the children, connecting to the curriculum, guiding you as a teacher, Yep.
Yeah. So you really want it sitting next to your curriculum
Yeah.
so that you can be seeing, where do I take children and where do they have a right to be taken? Because we have found in using the protocol, yes, we are finding where a child is operating and in fact where a child has become stuck because we haven't opened the door to the other strategies or to the questions or to the thinking. Those comprehension questions, general comprehension questions of, like, I can honestly say I have had children look at me and say, in response to some of those prompts, so what did you learn from this part of the text? I can honestly say I've had children look at me and say, I've never been asked a question like that before.
Mm.
Now, I'm not in any way being disrespectful for teachers or to teachers about that, but I am really honouring the work in this protocol. It's with great clarity what it is that we can be asking our students.
I was going to say it presents a huge opportunity for teachers. I mean, it's so exciting that, this is a way forward for them.
Yeah.
We all need ideas. We need professional development.
Yeah.
We need.
And for those teachers who actually are doing all of this and who have been doing it for a very long time, this, I think, is very timely in, once again, honouring and respecting what teachers have known to be such powerful and impactful and insightful ways to grow those with whom we have the privilege of sitting with and hearing and watching.
But there'll be a lot of early career teachers who will be saying, wow, this is something I could really start with.
Yeah.
Really start my teaching with.
Yes.
And a real guide to my teaching in a way that other assessments just don't do.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're an early career teacher in a school where this might not yet be something that has been brought to the school, if you've got a literacy facilitator in your school, share it with them. Get them having a look at it. And together, because I think it works really well when a school can have colleagues within the school trialling it together. I think you really gather and discover and learn some very powerful things by doing that collegially and seeing how that drives the kinds of focus and the kinds of work that you're doing together within a school.
And maybe share parts of this podcast with others, depending how much time you've all got, but share the podcast around with your team and then start discussing this and look at the website, Duke's work on the website.
Yes.
Duke and Company.
Yes. Yeah. So, big lot of information there. I know it's a lot to, without looking at things, take in, but I'm hopeful that just by raising the awareness of this as a new tool, as a new protocol that connects reading and writing, which is also part of its newness and high value, hoping that it's something that may answer some of the questions for people who are wondering how they can be tracking, noticing, knowing what to look for, knowing how they might collect that, and how they might work with a document that can look overwhelming but can, in fact, I think, be such a strong tool for not only you as a teacher but for the very children that you're sitting with.
Sharon, it adds to teachers' assessment practices. If we imagined standardised testing as one way of assessing, in informed observation
Yeah.
as a way of checking on students, but not just checking on students. We've found it's guiding your teaching. A child doing their own observation of themselves,
Yes.
self-observation.
Yeah. Or self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
It's almost like a quilt of different aspects of assessment that you could all stitch together and say, well, we need the whole quilt in working out how to assess somebody.
Yes. One really important thing I did forget to mention was how in starting to use the protocol, teachers have also found the things that they know at year level that they want to be intentional in teaching. And so which group of children need this or which group of children need that, but actually finding some of the things that, right, I want to make this a unit for my whole class. So that might be, say, for example, fluency, year 4, an aspect of fluency even. So our young friend who didn't know about italics and therefore didn't know about, the tone or the intonation or expression that you might use,
so doing
may
that,
make a focus. So where I'm intentionally planning for a comprehension focus for 5 weeks or for a fluency focus for 5 weeks or for a decoding strategies focus for 5 weeks, or I'm just pulling it out into this unit idea, but then also some people say, okay, right, I'm going to have, once a week I'm going to have a decoding strategy and I'm going to keep, going through the range of strategies. Like, what is it at this year level? And do we say, oh, well, I've done it at that year level, so now children have got it? No. Text gets more complex and demands more of students. And so the prefixes that we might do to help our students in their decoding and understanding words because of the chunks of meaning that prefix, base and suffix bring to words, that all of these things, I'm building those up year upon year upon year upon year. But they're not new strategies, they're new complexity of at word level that I'm working with, and reliability or less reliable or new spelling patterns, etc. So I think that has also, I have found teachers feeling much stronger about looking at their planning for reading and writing strategies by using the protocol, looking at their year level curriculum, thinking about, planning for their next unit and saying, I really need to make that a focus, and I really want to teach that intentionally to all of my students, and I want them to all improve and grow from where they are into deeper use of those strategies and into more and more complex text.
As a little aside, I could imagine having some text shared up on the screen for the whole class with the italics that child was finding out about as being a very powerful thing that Roald Dahl was using, but then doing a mini lesson with that shared text with the whole class. That to me, I've just imagined that as one lesson that I could start with.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yep.
So using text, well, yes, I could use it with that text from that child, but where I mostly find text that I want to share with students would be from the read alouds that I'm using. And I'm not saying, well, I can't bring from that child's piece of text, but I'm forever having my eyes on text that I'm reading aloud to students too, to be able to, let's just notice something here.
What you were bringing up was really good because it's highlighting some excellent teaching practices. Anyway.
Well, I'm saying with any of these things, just like we're listening to students and observing students as they are reading, any modelling or demonstrating of these processes and strategies that I would want to do, I would want to do within authentic text and show how that works as I'm reading.
So it's an ongoing text that you're already reading with the class.
Well, what I'm saying is the protocol is about observing students as they're reading. So as I model or demonstrate, I would also want to be doing it so students could observe me in the process of reading.
Yeah.
And to do that, what text am I using to do that? 9 times out of 10, I'm using text we've already got on the go as a class, either a big book that I can, readily use because we've seen it before and I can cycle to that book and that text as enlarged text, or a read aloud that I'm using, which is just going to be full of all the great things that I want students to be learning to deal with in increasingly complex text, or more complex text, is to be able to enlarge some of that using a document camera, having it up on the screen, or handwriting it into my reading journal.
Yes.
Because I just do not have to have everything up on a screen, to be honest, because if it's there, then it's not there.
That's true.
But to use text that has purpose and meaning for our students rather than pulling things out of nowhere for which children have no connection.
Rabbit out of a hat strategy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there, Sharon.
Yeah, I know. We always have a number of wrap-ups before we get to the real wrap-up.
We do, but some really important things there for teachers to reflect on. Go to the website, look at the protocol, listen to the podcast again, go back over sections, and share it with colleagues.
Yeah.
It's exciting times for us to have this assessment, this new assessment, and would love to hear new tool. That's what I think is the significant piece here, is that it is a tool. Yep.
And we know the value of, we don't necessarily need a lot of tools, but significant tools make up such a critical part of our toolkit.
Yep. And love to hear about how it's succeeding for you.
I've just got to say, I'm just trying to find the conversational prompts. The conversational prompts are one of the downloads on the website.
Oh, okay.
Right, so there is the blog post is a download. The printable form of the protocol is a download. There is also a digital form of that. There are directions for use, which I have certainly downloaded and read and have used those to guide me in using it and trialling it. But I've also infused that with lots of experience and knowledge of ways things have worked for me before.
Yes. Yep.
There is the conversational prompts as a download. So that's there. And then there are a whole lot of examples of reading and writing with particular year level teachers that you can see as videos. So a really rich set of resources. Everything I've talked about is there, downloadable on the site, all for free.
And perhaps we just end up with a huge congratulations to Nell Duke and her team for providing this for us.
Yes.
It's just genius.
Yeah. Yeah, and look out for continuing articles and publications that they have around this, because they say this isn't a set in stone end of job done here. You know, this is an ongoing piece where they're really looking for suggestions are welcome. And I think that's the thing that I value the most in this work, and that Duke and her team have brought all of us in to be teacher as researcher in this, for how it can work, for exploring how that works. And I think that is such a great honour for us as a profession that researchers are bringing us in on that.
Anyway, keep in touch with us, everyone. And this is a final wrap-up, and we're thanking everyone for being with us today. Thank you, Sharon, and bye for now.
Thanks, Phil, and always a pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. To make sure you don't miss any literacy learning tips and insights, please subscribe to our show on your favourite podcast player. At Q Learning, our literacy specialists draw on over 30 years of teaching and international consulting experience to deliver world-class learning solutions. We equip, empower and support teachers to become their authentic selves. To find out about upcoming webinars and about how Q can help you and your school, visit qlearning.com.au. And you can get even more amazing teaching resources right now at teachific.com.au. Stay tuned.